The Edgeless Swordsman here. It's March 16, 2022, and I'm just gonna go on another rant about the markets and why this junior sector is absolutely the best place to be, in my opinion, if you want oversized future returns. Case in point today, Eloro put out the second monster hole in 2 weeks, pretty much. 182 AG equivalent grams per ton over 351 meters, and it bottomed in mineralization. You almost never see holes like that. That's like, over 2 grams per ton AU equivalent. Over 351 meters bottoming in mineralization. So that's, one in, I don't know, 1,000 companies or one in 500 companies that will put out holes like that, especially in the junior sector. So it's like first, first look, it's like, absolutely world-class hole. You're not going to see many of those in your life. Market reaction, last time I checked, up 1.33%. Again, like total joke. I mean, that's why I love this sector. It's like you can buy stuff like this, which you will rarely ever see in this sector, and you don't even have to pay up for it. It's just remarkable, and it's always. I mean, the most important thing about a news release, in my opinion, is what it says about the next 10 or 20. The news releases that the market is not pricing in today, really, typically at least. Some slides from the news release. I mean, here you basically see the footprint of the Santa Barbara deposit. This might actually be okay. This is the previous news release actually. This is from the today's. So that the hole was METS METSBUG 01. That's this one, and this is the monster hole that was released on March 1. So it's like, again, what does this tell you? Okay, they drill basically what appears to be towards the edge of the hottest spots in the mag anomaly. So it's like, for every passing news release recently, well, at least I mean the last two, we haven't drilled more into this anomaly. It's just confirming the fact that this whopper of a mag anomaly is indeed a proxy for mineralization. Because one of these holes clipped it. This was the long hole on March 1. That was, I don't remember how long, 371 meters or something like that. And you can see this here. I'm assuming that, again, it's like the 307 meter intercept was mostly around the hottest parts of the system. But as the news release says, that today's monster hole bottomed in mineralization as well. So it's like there's still no, at the moment, end to this system. And like Bill Pearson just keeps repeating to, a daft market basically, that he's never seen anything like it in his life. There's not a single blank hole that's been drilled. So in terms of ROI, I don't think there's a single, maybe at least easily top like 3, top 2 in the junior world that I'm aware of, in terms of how much bang for the buck you get for every dollar drilled. It's just incredible. I mean, these guys can like infer. I mean, just the starter deposit, for example. This one here. I mean, they're up to around 50,000 meters, I think. I mean, I see. There's gold targets or gold projects where companies drill like 50,000 meters and they're up to like, I don't know, 300,000-400,000 ounces. I mean, this Santa Barbara target, I mean, that's the whole thing that kicked off this story. It's expected to, I expect it to be, I don't know, anywhere from 300 to 500 million ounces AG equivalent, and and is open for expansion to the northwest especially. And now they're basically tracking this big tongue, this whole thing. I mean, we're still around Porco Central, and I mean, if you look at the cutoff here, I mean, this slide cuts off here. I mean, does it look like this just ends here? No. So it's like we have still no idea. I mean, this is the Santa Barbara initial, target zone for the initial maiden resource. I think that's gonna again be 300 to 500 million ounces silver equivalent. Then we have the Porco stuff that are basically drilling right into now that might actually be worth even more and be even bigger than the Santa Barbara target. So it's like the blue sky, the de-risked blue sky, let's say, of Eloro doubled on, or perhaps more than doubled actually on March 1. And the stock is like, barely up. It's absolutely ridiculous. And I see, people talk about, recoveries or Bolivia. It's like you could give away 30% of this project easily, and I think it's still dirt cheap, or 50% perhaps. I mean, this target here, I mean, if you do some, crude calculations, that's like, based on what we know now, the grades we're seeing, the, apparent scale of this, that's like, this alone, not even accounting for Santa Barbara, really is on its own, like if you calculate having a billion ton potential, that's like 64 million ounces AU equivalent. That's excluding recovery loss, obviously. And still, I mean, the grades are so high in AG equivalent terms that I think you could, we could cope with a pretty hefty recovery loss, and this would still be, good grades. I mean, at 2 grams per ton AU equivalent is obviously obscene grade, but we're not gonna have 100% recoveries. That's for sure. But this is still open. Again, it's like, where does this thing end? I have no idea. And everything just, pretty much confirms, this news release basically adds value to the other ones because it just reinforces the theory that yes, this is indeed a proxy for mineralization. And on that note,
Porco, and is this where you suspect that tin deeper, the tin porphyry type of?
Absolutely,
Yep.
And interestingly, our first indication was that we did some radial drill holes in Porco,
Yeah,
which had a few hits, but the one hole that had the best hit clipped the edge of the model,
yeah.
and it had a bunch of tin.
so that's these holes is talking about now, where when they drilled, they didn't have this model pretty much, so they were just drilling blind. And there was one, I don't know if it was this hole or some hole here, but that hole actually that clipped this anomaly had the best results as well.
And the other one that now makes sense, hole 6 we drilled in our Santa Barbara radial drilling, which was minus 80 to the south. We had a deep intersection in there that had 0.43 tin over 73 meters.
Ooh,
and it
yeah.
looked like, where did this come from? Well, we now know that's the northern edge of what we hit in DSBU 07
Wow.
373.
Wow.
So yes, I'm keeping my finger.
Yeah, okay, so I mean, based on what he said, I mean, again, they drilled before this model was known, and they hit a very high grade intercept over 73 meters with, pretty obscene tin grades, 0.43, something like that, which is, high grade, especially for a bulk intercept. I don't know exactly where it is, but apparently, again, it's like they clipped this without knowing it, and a bunch of tin showed up. So, I mean, if you listen to this presentation, I mean, it's pretty obvious that Bill expect this to, and I mean, he should know. I mean, he's been around the block in the exploration business and been part of major projects, and it's like, and I think it's either in this interview or I think it's in this interview where it says, like, Dr. Osvaldo Arce, it's like he believes this will be the biggest discovery in Bolivia for 100 years. It's like, in what way, shape, or form is that reflected with Eloro's market cap of 300 million? That's not the implied value of world-class, once in a generation discovery. And it's not, it's not even reflecting, I don't think it's even reflecting this part, let alone Porco, let alone what anything else we might find going beyond this, and maybe even to the to the east or to the west. Again, it's like they have yet to hit the limit. So it's like this already looks huge based on this. It's getting obscenely huge based on this and this. And the story is far away from over. It's like this is still early stage. We have no idea. If you look at I don't know if the mags, the surface mags are in this presentation. Anyway, the same kind of mag low that shows up over here. I think that's the blue shaded area. That runs this way as well. Which basically lines up with this being a, let's say, northwestern southeastern trend. So it's like, I think we're super early still, and this is just getting more obscene by every passing news release, and the market has absolutely no clue. I'm just assuming it's just because people don't understand just how valuable tin is or how rare tin is. But it's like if you pull up a dictionary and look up the word or the phrase risk-adjusted free money, that's gotta be Eloro. This is one of the most obscene no-brainer stories I've come across yet, and that's saying a lot, given that like almost every junior, decent to high quality junior right now, is obscenely cheap. This just takes the cake. This is just truly remarkable. That's why you shouldn't really complain about this environment, because what's not priced in today will get priced in tomorrow, and on that point it's like, okay, now it looks to me like we're doing a bullish pennant, a bullish continuation pattern, which I think will break up, because okay, why do I think so? First of all, I think we should be way higher already, just based on what we know today. But okay, the market is stupid, the market is short-sighted, it's daft, yada yada yada. Okay, how many news releases do you think this anomaly will produce? And so far, every time they've hit this, they've had, great mineralization. The one that clipped it had high grade in a small area. This one monster hole. Today, these ones were monster holes, and they had 350 meters, widths, and ended in mineralization. So it's like, again, investing is a lot about, front running other investors, investor psychology, let's say. It's about front running probability based catalysts, of course, but like today we're seeing in this environment you can actually buy great results without even taking risk, and that's why it's frustrating for someone that's already in a stock, because okay, if you have a barn burner result like this, you don't get much in terms of reward at face value. And the luxury of anyone that's not even in Eloro, for example, they can just pick and choose, like, yes, okay, I'll buy after all this is known, and I barely pay any more than the ones who actually took the risk of going into assays. So it's like it's somewhat rigged for already investors that are already in a lot of stories right now. But that's like, at the same time, yes, okay, in hindsight, of course, you would want to buy as much value as you can without taking any risk or even paying up. But at the same time, it's like if you were in it, it's like this added a lot of value, de-risked a lot of the blue sky case, and that's gonna shine through one of these days. So it's like you can't ask for a better buyer's buying environment as a buyer. But of course, it's like if you're completely out of dry powder, then this period in the junior sector, at sentiment lows, is extremely frustrating, because again, you take on risk, but sometimes barely get anything for it, but if it's, something comes in below expectations, you get punished instead. But that's again gonna change, and that's why it's so important to stick it out through these sentiment periods of sentiment lows, because the success that the juniors are doing right now that they're not getting rewarded for, they'll be rewarded in spades. I mean, when we go into a sentiment high in a real, frothy bull market, you're gonna even see juniors go up on poor results. So that's gonna be rigged in our favor. Now it's rigged against an existing shareholder, and it's best time for anyone with dry powder. Remarkably good time for anyone with dry powder. Again, looking ahead, the market is short-term focus. I don't know what the market is thinking right now, but it's like, okay, to me it's like a fat no-brainer that we're gonna get a lot more of these. We're gonna get a lot more of these kind of holes going forward when we just drill more and more and more into this one and Santa Barbara, and I mean, like Bill discusses in the interview. Okay, can't really see it here, I think, but there's tin mines way way to the south here. So again, it's like, I think this is just gonna, I mean, it has already doubled on March 1 in terms of the risk blue sky. I think it might actually double again. I mean, get 4 times as big as Santa Barbara. This is, in my opinion, no-brainer hodl case, and it doesn't really matter. I mean, you don't need to even, even though I think it's one of the most no-brainers out there, you don't need to be, all in on a store like this. I mean, if you have a decent position, given what I think it's worth right now and what it can be worth in, next 6, 12, 18, 24 months, I mean, if you have a decent position, it's not even gonna, kill you if everything goes sideways, and by everything it's like, if Bolivia would nationalize the whole thing, which I don't think is going to happen, and that's why I think the market is overly pessimistic. And you can even, in my opinion, you could give away 30% of Eskay to the government, make them happy, and still it would be a multi-bagger from here, maybe even a 10-bagger or more. So it's like, yeah, it's remarkable for any buyers out there today. These kinds of system, you'll only see a few of those in a couple of decades, I think, and you can buy it for a price level that's like, it's like it was nothing special, let's say. So yeah, easy to front run. Okay, I'm buying today because I think there's gonna be a monster hole, more discoveries, expansions, whatever. So it's like come back in a year, and you can just imagine how many news releases this anomaly will have produced, and on net balance I think it's going to be worth a lot more. And at some point in time, I don't think the market can remain stupid to the fact that this is looking like one of the largest discoveries that a junior has had in decades. Then we have Eskay Mining, which also put out news today, actually. No, yesterday, I think. Yeah, yesterday. The balance of the drill results from TVGF, C10 and Vermilion. I mean, I talked about this yesterday. I think this is, like I've stated in the forums today, I think, again, hot money is always going to be involved. I mean, 95% of investors are short-term oriented. They buy based on the next catalyst. They sell shortly after a catalyst or whatever. So, I mean, like I had suspected, the results were not as great as some of the barn burners out of TV, which has been previously released. But like you can see here, okay, this is TV. Here you see these thick monster intercepts, open, down, dip, open, a long strike, open, long strike this way. So this TV is wide open, And like they've stated, I think it was Quinton who said, it appears that it's getting better and thicker to the south. Okay, so they basically know which way, where the monster holes are, and this coming drill campaign they plan to put 18,000 meters on TV alone. That's almost as much as the entire 2021 drill campaign. So again, you can just imagine the news flow that's gonna appear this year, because the monster holes from TV so far, it's like 117 meters of 4 grams per ton AU equivalent. I mean, you don't see. I mean, that's the top, easily top 1% of drill holes that any juniors drilled lately. So okay, if they are gonna put a lot more drill meters, and they know where that stuff is now, what direction it's getting better, you can just imagine how I can think that the coming drill season this year is gonna blow away last year's drill season, because this was mostly, I mean, they're prodding around trying to figure out which way stuff goes, etc. So this was like a probing run, and now you have John the Decker and all the brainiacs over at Eskay Mining. They're putting their brains to work and already know that which way TV is actually getting better. Same with Jeff, open along strike, both up and down, both open down dip. So it's like probable growth, absolutely. This is both of these systems have room to run. So that's probable growth. And of course, I think the hit percentage is going to be even better this time around. And then you have C10, which is now a discovery. And you have, we're waiting for, I think we're going to get samples from Scarlet Ridge. Not 100% sure, but I would assume that, because that's like the hottest Bleg anomaly, and they have found outcropping VMS mineralization over 1.5 kilometers. So it's like, again, front running the stuff that the market is not paying attention to. And you can see here, like the RSI, it's all the way down here today. You can see when it hits these oversold levels. I mean, any long-term investor, I mean, like myself, I've hodled from, I don't know how low, maybe around here or something. I've just sat on my ass, and Eskay has provided the greatest return. Why? Because it has one of the most obscene growth profiles in the entire junior space. And people are selling here because, okay, I mean, the people buying here because of the coming assays. I mean, I didn't I didn't buy more just to be hot money, let's say. But what I like to do is I like to buy the future, not the short-term catalyst, all the future catalysts today, because the market isn't pricing that in. I mean, again, it's like, if the market got excited by this year's drill campaign, what do you think the market is going to do when we probably drill a lot more monster holes from TV, bonanza holes from Jeff, let's say, maybe C10, and had more. Okay, I lost them. Yeah, I mean, they're probably maybe they're gonna drill Spearhead. Let's say they drill Spearhead, Vermilion. They're gonna do a lot of work on Vermilion to try to triangulate that, of course, because they hit Pathfinder mineralization for VMS. Scarlet Ridge is the big ace in the card, ace in the hole, I think, because that's quite close to. I'm just gonna pull that up. It's one of the closest targets to the original Eskay Creek deposit. I think they've stated that it's actually in this the same age as well. Here's Scarlet Ridge, here's the original Eskay Creek, so that's not too far away. And the Bleg anomaly in that area is, like a Christmas tree. I mean, this is a huge. That's a 5+ kilometer long Bleg anomaly with also very high grade results. Same down at Spearhead, Vermilion, and C10. TV Jeff, that's actually moderately high grade. So these are appears to be even more even richer outcropping mineralization, which goes to I think it says something, because TV there's like 2 to 4 grams per ton material over up to 200 meters width, I think, outcropping. So it's like the blue sky is absolutely insane for Eskay mining. The Eskay Creek remnants, which Skina is drilling right now, and approved up around 4 or 5 million ounces, I think. They're valued at 1 billion at like 4 or 5 grams per ton. So like, what are the odds that, and that's a bit more than a kilometer in strike. I mean, that alone, what's the distance between TV and Jeff? I can barely see the scale bar, but I think that's like 2-3 kilometers, and you have these obvious geophysical targets all the way through here. So it's like you can fit what Skina has, maybe 1, 2, 3 times in this picture alone, and that's just a snapshot of the. That's just basically an area this big, and you have all of this on to boot. So again, it's like the growth trend. I like to when we're talking tier 1 growth stories. That's the ones I like, because that's the ones I can sit on my ass pretty much, because I think I have no idea what the next news release is going to be. I have no idea if we will go up or down, but I have a pretty good idea that if I sit and wait, we're going to be a lot higher within 6 months, within 12, even higher within 12 months, within 18 months, and even higher within 24 months, simply because there's the growth potential in Eskay is so ridiculously large, and I think this coming season will have the best drill results that we've ever had, and I think that's just going to keep on getting better, because they're going to be learning, and if you again add a few discoveries, maybe in 12 months we know that we've had monster holes out of TV, maybe we'll hit, hone in on we'll actually find, I mean, we haven't yet found the VMS mounts at Jeff, so we're still just drilling the source material. So what happens if we, the Decker figures out where the VMS, the true VMS mineralization is there? Okay, what's going to happen then? And we already know that a few holes that we've had into VMS at TV is like, high grade, I think 3 meters, so like 25 grams per ton and stuff like that. So it's like, we haven't even unlocked all the parts of TV and Jeff, let alone followed it along strike and at depth. So it's again, just to recap, I hope they have a stratigraphic. Yeah, here. Okay, so they're open up strata at TV and Jeff, and we're open down strata at TV, and they're open. Both are open along strike, both directions, and both are open down dip. And that's just the first two. That's just the first two of everything that we could find in this picture here. It's way obscene. It's way larger than your typical junior. So it's like, if there was ever a time to like think in terms of front run a future that the market doesn't care or price in right now, I mean, I look at this as getting how much is it down? Let's say at the bottom here, 32%. So let's say, everything goes, somewhat according to plan, which I expect, and we'll be at, I don't know, let's say, okay, good question. Let's just say we'll be at $7.5 before year's end. Don't hold me to it. depends a lot on sentiment, etc. If we go into a really frothy market and we put out monster holes, I mean, this could rush past 1-2 billion easily if we have more obscene holes. And if it's a really poor market and we have, you know, just decent, let's say, results, maybe we'll, you know, be around this level or something. But anyway, so okay, if you bought prior to if you bought at this level, that would be 117% this year. My goal is to have at least 50%, and that's not easily done to have 50% on a rolling 10-month basis. If you bought, let's say you bought the dip here today, you'd have 222, so almost double the result, or double the return, just because hot money left the stock. So they gave away, I mean, one could say that the one who bought here and sold here gave away, in this theoretical example, gave away 100% in returns to whoever bought the shares off of him. So he elected, or I mean, when he sold, he turned a paper loss into a real loss, so let's say 32%, whereas the one who bought this low and is just sitting on his hands picked up a 222% return. I mean, this is the kind of patience time arbitrage that I think is the biggest edge in the junior sector. When everyone 95% are short-term orientated, they look at the next drill results, they're worried about, well, this might go down 10% more, whatever. It's like there's no time in any short that it can't go lower. And if you drag on the time horizon with a case like this where there's probable upside, again, it's like, what are the odds that they're gonna drill more monster holes at TV? I think they're great, and that's why I think this is actually one of those stories where even in a relatively poor sentiment environment, you can actually ride that drill high play, because I think people are, you know, should figure out by now, and you know, I'll help tell the story, obviously, that 2022's drill campaign should blow 2021 away. And again, if I expect to have many more holes of multigram intercepts over like 90 to 200 meters or whatever this year, so it's like when the hot money again realizes that, oh shit, drills are turning, they're drilling TV, which produce those high grade results. I think one can actually put on a pretty low risk trading position as well, and just ride that real hype, because this is going to be, you know, a junior that has a high probability, I think, of producing barn burner results within 6 months. So if you just have the patience for that, I think that you I don't think you will regret it. And of course, it's like the lower this, given that the growth trend is intact, I think again, it's like if it goes down here, that would be 300%, let's say, this year alone, possibly. It's just the way to go about it, I think, because nothing has changed for worse for the case. If anything, we added, you know, possible another discovery of VMS over at C10, and there's just so many targets and geophysical anomalies left to test. Yeah, again, it's like, in my opinion, look farther ahead than the market, because and if you just look at the RSI, you know, let's say, you know, when it gets oversold as like short-term panic, I mean, pretty much every time since, you know, the Eskay as we know it today traded, all of these short-term panics have been, you know, great long-term buys. Because I think, I mean, you know, this bottom, I mean, that showed great profit here already, and, you know, even shorter after that. I mean, and I think, I mean, anyone who bought this panic, let's say, I think, you know, it's gonna, you know, have a 300% return. The one who bought this, you know, probably sitting on a 700% return. The ones that are chasing the highs all the time and selling low, I mean, they're just turning paper losses into to real losses, like I think quite a few people did today. So again, outweight the market, look ahead of the market. You have to. I mean, this is a war between you and the horde mentality or the herd mentality. So take advantage of people's short-term patience and know that the ones who are selling here, they'll be back in time for more monster holds out of TV. So you can take hopefully some low-risk money off the table. And if you, I mean, I have just rode every news release basically. Obviously extremely choppy, but since the growth trend is up, I mean, like for Eloro, the growth trend just keeps on expanding. Same with Eskay. I mean, when this just moved sideways, they were finding more and more outcrops, more and more targets, drilling great holes. So I don't think this is even reflecting. It's not a true reflection of just how much the implied potential of Eskay went up. But I mean, since juniors overall went like this, just the fact that Eskay went, kept staying neutral, let's say, it's a testament of how good the case is. And again, if we go into a hot environment, or pray to God we actually have a true bonanza intercept, kind of like Eskay Creek, I think all hell could break loose. I don't think we actually need it though. I mean, TV Jeff, given the results we're seeing, I mean, if you just extend that down dip along strike, etc., that should be enough for a company maker, which Eskay Resources is basically showing. I mean, Franco-Nevada recently took a strategic position in it. Pretium is to the east of us. So we're circled basically by majors at this point in time. So it's like prime jurisdiction, hottest prime jurisdiction on earth, pretty much. We got Pretium over here, Seabridge over here. We got Eskay Creek over here in Skeena with Franco-Nevada. And this is some of the most finite resources in the world. Prime ground in a prime jurisdiction with more targets than you can even drill in a year. That sums it up. I have Eskay is still my largest position. I actually added some today, and if it goes lower from here, I'll just in my opinion, I'll just take advantage of the base case I have that we're going a lot higher. And simply any purchase even lower will have an outsized return. Of course, I mean, in hindsight, you would rather reestablish a full position here than here. But it's like just sitting on my ass. That has been the most profitable case for me, and same goes pretty much for Eloro. I just keep buying when I think it's just outrageously cheap on a 12 to 24 month time frame. So yeah, I mean, I think it's as long as the growth profile for these types of companies are undeniably way up, the growth case is very much intact. And like Great Bear, these high octane growth stories, you can just sit on your ass and hope to be so lucky that you have dry powder to supercharge your returns anytime it dips, really, because the end point was up here. That's it for now. I'm obviously biased. I own shares of both, a lot of shares of both. They're both sponsors. Do your own due diligence. I just describe what makes sense to me, and that's the way I made most of my money. So I mean, this strategy is the one I personally like and has worked for me to simply outweight and outwit the short-term market. But there are no guarantees, obviously. Thankfully, like most of these cases, I mean, if blue sky materializes, we're talking, 10 bagger potential. If you miss by 50, maybe a multi-bagger, etc. I just don't see how both these stories won't at least fill up their current shoes, let's say, and more. Thanks for listening. Bye.